I remember when the pandemic first started. As a healthcare professional, I'll admit that at first I disregarded it as a mass media scam, as many viruses in the past have proven to be. But then as the hospitals I worked around in Forsyth County, North Carolina, began erecting tents and containers just for the COVID-19 patients, I began to treat it a little more serious. And then out of nowhere, my treatment and transport protocols changed. Next, our level 1 trauma center and pediatric hospital resectioned their entire EDs just to accommodate COVID patients. And then perhaps the biggest change of all came, the one that we're still in, the stay-at-home order issued by the North Carolina government on March 27, 2020, an order leaving just the bare, essential, and necessary occupations open during a time of confusion and uncertainty. And if it had not been for those who worked during those hard times, I personally don't think we would have ever made it. And therefore, this is a thank you and sincere honorary mention to all essential workers for the risks they put themselves through and the adjustments they made to their everyday lives to keep this nation together. For the risk they made was not small. As of May 27, 2020, the CDC reported 1.7 million infections with just short of 102,000 deaths. On the front lines, there were 64,000 healthcare personnel affected, and 307 of those warriors did not live. But from stove top Marcos, an ED nurse at Presbyterian Hollywood Medical Center, who was one of those people. The Los Angeles Times recognized her as one of the many essential workers who we lost during the fight of COVID on April 17, 2020. She was followed by Chris Guzman, another nurse from Illinois, who the Chicago Tribune reported to be optimistic in her fight against COVID and was eager to fight on the front lines. And while most people had the option to social distance and isolate, many essential workers did not. Those workers were at increased exposure with the general public, and therefore also with the virus. And still, essential workers continue to do their part to hold this nation together, even when the pandemic followed them after clocking out. Having a job still didn't mean that life outside of work remained unchanged. Whether hours were long or cut, there was little to do outside of those hours. With typical de-stressors and self-reward shut down during the stay-at-home orders, many were left with nothing to do or to help process the things they may have gone through that day. I remember reading an article. It was titled, "Top ER Doctor Who Treated Virus Patients Dies by Suicide." It was by the New York Times and briefly told the story of Dr. Lorna M. Breen, who was on the front lines fighting the coronavirus. And it really comes to show the weight of what essential workers face, I think. It is such a wave of stress that completely engulfs professional and personal lives of these personnel, leaving people like Dr. Breen with a feeling of hopelessness and no escape. And for many, it was too risky to even see family, with older populations at risk for more severe symptoms of COVID. Many essential workers were separated from family and friends that were part of their routines and major sources of support in their lives. All of this, and still essential workers continue to hold this nation together. And what for? Why did they? They did it for this decline. They did it so one day we could see not just the decline in the novel coronavirus, but to see its total eradication. So again, this is my thank you for the risk and adjustments that essential workers made as they took on the fight of COVID-19. This is my thanks to every CNA, CMA, nurse, doctor, EMT, AEMT, paramedic, rescuer. But not only that, this is a thank you to every single grocery and retail clerk, e-commerce fulfillment worker, fast food and restaurant worker, teacher, professor, educator, to every researcher, road worker, firefighter, law enforcement and 911 telecommunicator. Thank you all.